Bill Maher is at it again, tearing apart woke arguments like it's his personal mission. And this time, his target is none other than Whoopi Goldberg. Let's be real, she had it coming, considering the string of eyebrow-raising statements she's made since 2022. But Maher didn't just call her out. He dismantled her arguments piece by piece in a takedown so brutal, it left Whoopi backpedaling like a cartoon character dodging falling anvils. So, what did Goldberg say this time to land in Maher's crosshairs? And how did his fiery response send the woke crowd into a frenzy? Don't worry, we've got all the messy details. Buckle up because this isn't just a wild ride. It's a full-blown roller coaster with no brakes.
To get past this endless, unforgiving, zero-tolerance mindset bent on punishing and disappearing anyone caught saying the wrong thing. The right response to speech you don't like is more speech.
Whoopi Goldberg just poked the bear, and now she's dealing with the claws of cold, hard truth. And trust me, it's not a pretty sight. Remember when Bill Maher ripped into Sunny Hostin for twisting his words? Well, it looks like the View crew isn't ready to take that quietly. This time, Whoopi has stepped in, apparently on a mission to settle the score. Guess Sunny couldn't handle the heat, so she called for backup. Enter Whoopi, charging in like a reality show contestant no one asked for, ready to throw down. And let's just say, things are about to get messy.
And black people can't afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them.
Well, if he's right, then why didn't people vote for the former prosecutor who actually had policy plans to help the working class? I mean...
Classic Whoopi Goldberg, flipping through the woke playbook like it's her personal manual. When the argument starts sinking faster than the Titanic, just build a straw man and go on the offensive. Bill Maher laid it out plain and simple. Black Americans want better jobs, a stronger economy, and responsible policing. Makes sense, right? But here comes Whoopi, rambling about voting for a former prosecutor with vague plans for the working class. Does it connect? Not even a little. It's like she's throwing darts blindfolded, hoping something sticks. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. And of course, Bill Maher wasn't about to let that slide.
Just, no, it's not that I've gotten old, it's that your ideas are stupid.
Bill Maher didn't hold back, ripping into Whoopi's arguments as nothing more than the usual nonsense. Pretty much standard fare for The View. Let's be real, the show has turned into the political talk show equivalent of a train wreck. Painful to watch, yet impossible to look away from. It's already infamous for its controversial and, let's be honest, downright questionable takes on almost everything. But somehow, Whoopi Goldberg and Sunny Hostin managed to turn up the chaos even more with their latest round of outrageous commentary. Remember when Charlemagne Tagod braved the set as a guest? You could practically see him wondering if he'd just stumbled into an alternate reality.
All of the criticism is valid because, Democrats stand on this moral high ground all the time and, they act so self-righteous. The reality is he didn't have to say anything in regards to, whether or not, his son wanted to be pardoned. He could have said, hey, man, I'm not focused on that right now. But
the backstory, President Joe Biden, the so-called champion of no one being above the law, just pardoned his son, Hunter Biden, after he was found guilty of corruption and other related offenses. Talk about family values, right? Unsurprisingly, this move set off a firestorm of criticism. How do you preach accountability when your own son gets a free pass? It's like claiming justice is blind. Unless your last name is Biden. Hunter's guilt was as obvious as a toddler caught with cookie crumbs all over his face. Yet somehow, accountability didn't make it onto the family calendar. And that was exactly Charlemagne's point. If the so-called woke crowd insists that no one is above the law, then they should hold themselves to their own standards. Sounds simple, right? Well, Whoopi didn't see it that way.
I'm gonna stop you for a second.
Uh-oh.
Only because you don't know that it was a lie. We don't know why he changed his mind.
You really think he just changed his mind over Thanksgiving weekend all of a sudden?
No, I'm gonna tell you what I think.
Okay.
I think he changed his mind because he got sick of watching everybody else get over.
And there you have it, another head-scratching take from Whoopi Goldberg. This time she's actually trying to argue that President Biden wasn't lying when he claimed that no one is above the law. Come on, Whoopi. There's a pile of evidence, videos, recordings, and probably even hieroglyphics, showing he said exactly that.
This nation was founded on the principle that there are no kings in America. Each of us is equal before the law. No one is above the law. not even the President of the United States.
Watching Whoopi try to spin this is like watching someone argue that water isn't wet. Completely ridiculous. At this point, her mental gymnastics are so wild she could qualify for the Olympics. Though let's be real, she'd trip over her own contradictions. Even Charlemagne looked visibly stunned by her take. But Whoopi wasn't done. She actually suggested that maybe Biden changed his mind because he was just fed up with people taking advantage of him. Charlemagne left in stunned silence.
So I'm just going to follow the straight and narrow always, because that's what's expected of Democrats.
But that's their fault. They're the ones that go out.
They're
They're the ones that go out there and they stand on this moral high ground.
Listen,
they don't have to do that.
The problem with the woke crowd is they only cry foul when the offender isn't part of their inner circle, but when it's one of their own, suddenly the outrage disappears, replaced by weak excuses and a case of selective amnesia. Whoopi and her crew might have slipped by with their usual nonsense while Charlemagne was on the show, but the moment Bill Maher got wind of it, he said, "Hold my beer," and delivered one of the most brutal verbal takedowns we've seen in a while.
You love to speak truth to power, and we always should, but you have completely lost the ability to speak truth to bullshit.
Maher nailed it. The woke crowd loves to pose as truth tellers, but their double standards are obvious. Hunter Biden was guilty, no question. Yet, because his father's in the White House, he walks free. If it were anyone else, the outrage would be deafening. But when it's one of their own, silence. It's peak hypocrisy, and Maher was right to call it out. The real question, how much longer will Americans tolerate this? This isn't just about Hunter, it's about a system rigged for the powerful. Maher's takedown wasn't just timely, it was a reality check. And here's the kicker. He also pointed out how mainstream media helps the woke crowd push their agenda.
Was it
press?
appropriate to bury the Hunter Biden?
You're talking about the press doing that?
He's saying that's what they did, and that is what they did. They buried the Hunter Biden story before the election because they were like, we can't risk having the election thrown to Trump. We'll tell them after the election.
And we know for a fact that that's what they did?
Of course. You don't
but
follow
I'm
this.
saying
You
know for a fact that that's what they did. I don't know what they did.
I know, because you only watch MSNBC.
No,
The media went into full damage control, downplaying the Hunter Biden scandal to protect President Biden and sabotage Trump's re-election. Major outlets brushed it off as Russian disinformation, ignoring mounting evidence while silencing critics. Whoopi Goldberg jumped on the bandwagon, dismissing the allegations on The View. But Maher wasn't having it. He tore through her excuses, calling her out for defending power instead of seeking the truth, exposing the hypocrisy for everyone to see.
Above any matters of politics or what's right or wrong, the one thing I know for sure about America is this. It's run by mean girls. Mean girls in the press and in politics and in life. And when they smell blood in the water, the lust to finish off a vulnerable person will never be denied.
Maher nailed it. The View's hosts, especially Whoopi Goldberg, aren't just woke, they're attack dogs, ready to tear down anyone who doesn't fit their narrative. Their version of debate isn't about truth or discussion, it's about shutting down dissent with snark and superiority. Whoopi, in particular, waves off opposing views like they're not even worth acknowledging. But Maher wasn't afraid to expose their tactics, bullying masked as activism. No wonder he's a thorn in their side, constantly calling out their hypocrisy. For viewers sick of one-sided narratives, his takedowns are a refreshing dose of reality.
Democrats run for office as if the voters don't live here, as if they don't go to the grocery store and Starbucks and the office, but they do. They live here. And they actually see women and people of color. And it doesn't look like some patriarchal racist nightmare. Do problems remain pertaining to racism and sexism? Of course. But a poll last year asked, if America is the greatest country in the world, more blacks and Hispanic Americans agreed with that than the white progressives. It asked if racism is built into our society. White progressives agreed with that at higher levels than black and Hispanic people. It asked if government should increase border security. Same result. Hispanic Americans are less okay with illegal immigration than whitey. The votes are in. They don't want your pity. And black people can't afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them. Black people, they're just like us.
Maher argues that the woke mob needs to stop clutching their pearls over Trump's win and start accepting reality. He didn't steal it, rig it, or pull it out of thin air. He won fair and square because millions of Americans backed him, no matter how much it upset the progressive left. Instead of blaming Russia, racism, or the latest trending scapegoat, maybe it's time to realize that democracy means sometimes the other side wins. It's not a flaw, it's the system doing what it's supposed to. If they want a shot in 2028 or 2032, they should quit playing the victim and start playing strategist.
I said there's a coalition of Trump voters, people who really like him. They certainly are those. And then there's people who don't necessarily like him that much, but they still think he's less crazy than stuff that strikes them as aggressively anti-common sense.
Bill Maher hits the nail on the head again. Not everyone who voted for Trump is decked out in MAGA gear or pledging allegiance to golden statues. Many did it because they were fed up with the Democrats' moral grandstanding and the woke mob's increasingly out-of-touch agenda. Let's be honest. When you're cheering for biological men in women's sports or aligning with groups that raise serious ethical concerns, you're bound to lose voters. People didn't vote for Trump because they loved his tweets or his spray tan. They voted for him because the alternative felt like getting lectured by a self-righteous vegan at a BBQ. If the left wants to win, maybe they should quit alienating the middle with every fringe activist demand and start focusing on policies that actually resonate with everyday Americans.
And finally, new rule, stop saying that Whoopi Goldberg getting yanked from The View right after she attacked me on The View is karma. There's no such thing as karma, sorry. Sorry, but life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is hilarious.
Bill Maher didn't just put the final nail in Whoopi Goldberg's coffin, he practically built the whole thing while laughing at the absurdity of it all. Whoopi, the self-appointed queen of the woke mob, took a swing at Maher for daring to think for himself. Big mistake. Maher's response? Classic Bill. Sharp, unapologetic, and devastatingly hilarious. He pointed out the irony of a co-host from The View, a show supposedly about diverse opinions, attacking him for having one she didn't like. Tolerance, it seems, only applies when you're agreeing with them. Maher wasn't having it. He exposed the hypocrisy of Whoopi's echo chamber, where critical thinking is replaced with blind tribal loyalty and dissent, is treated like heresy. Watching Maher dismantle their flimsy arguments was like watching a master artist at work, except his brushstrokes were pure sarcasm and brutal logic. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next one.